All right, we have a decent amount of people in here today. That's really cool. Welcome, everybody. I know we still have some people filing in. My name is Allie. I'm one of the community technologists at Do Space. I'm going to be the one kind of chilling out with you guys. I'll be in the chat. Tonight we have Chris with us. He's going to go over some data and analytics for Google. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to put them either in the chat or in the Q&A. Chris will answer them as he goes through. Other than that, I will hand it over to Chris, and it's all on you now.
Awesome. Yeah, hey, thanks, guys. I just want to start by giving a big thank you to Do Space for putting this whole thing on. Allie, Allison, Bree, and of course, Allie, our moderator for tonight. And just a little kind of quick overview, housekeeping type stuff. How we want to do this class today is first half, I'm going to go over this slide deck, kind of hit the basics. You can see, of course, title of the class, Google Data Studio with Google Analytics for beginners. So, of course, we're going to go over all that stuff. But since it's only 30 minutes, it's just going to be hit the basics and kind of give you guys just enough to get up and get running and create your own Google Data Studio dashboards. And the goal is at the end of this class, you guys obviously know how it works, but then also leave with your own Data Studio dashboard with your own data in it. And right now I'm using a lot of big words like Data Studio and Google Analytics. And I'm sure not everyone knows what those means, but just kind of hang on because we're going to go over everything. And it is a lot of information and we are doing it kind of fast. And so just keep in mind, if you do have some questions, type them into the chat box and we're going to kind of take a break every 10 minutes or so. And I'm just going to answer your questions. Also, the more questions you guys ask, the better this whole presentation is going to be. I'm not totally sure what y'all are trying to get out of this course. And so by typing those in, I can create the content and help you guys get everything you want out of this class. Also, this is going to be the first of 3 series courses on Google Data Studio. And so the first episode today is Google Data Studio and Google Analytics, of course. Next week, we're going to do Google Ads. Google Ads is like the #1 largest online advertising platform in the world. Like everyone knows Google makes a ton of money, but they don't know how they make all their money. How Google makes its money is all through Google Ads, that program. So that's going to be a cool lesson. Just it's going to be a lot of the same stuff we go over today, the basics. But then when we get to that worksheet at the end of that class, it's going to be a lot different. And so definitely come back next week if you like it today. And just the basic idea is a lot of this stuff can be complicated, and it's like I've watched a bunch of videos on the Google Analytics Data Studio, and then I'll go and try to do it, and it's like super complicated. And what I've discovered is I'm a person that definitely like learns by doing. And so that's kind of the idea with having the worksheet is you will have a lot of questions. It's not all going to make sense in the beginning, but just kind of being able first to watch me do it and see, okay, here's how he's going around. That'll be helpful. But then also where it's really going to actually kind of seep in is once you start doing it for yourself and like realizing, oh, all this stuff's not as complicated as I thought. And when I'm going to open the chat. Also, I'm curious if anyone has anything they're really interested to like learn by the end of the course today, go ahead and put it in the chat right now. Also, Allie, how do I look at the chat? Oh, I think I figured it out. Okay, cool. Oh, from the Philippines. So I saw someone asked if there's a certificate for this webinar. There's no certificate. The whole point is just to kind of learn how it all fits together. but there is actually a certificate through Google, and it's kind of another class you can take, but this one has no certificate. Why don't I give a certificate? Maybe we'll do that in the future. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And kind of just quick overview. Obviously, first half is gonna be going over the Google slides, which is just basics of, hey, what is Google Analytics? What is Google Data Studio? And then I'm gonna kind of start by telling you guys a story so you can like see how it actually impacts in the real world and how all this stuff kind of fits together. And so second half of the class, we're going to shut down the Google Slides, open up Google Data Studio. That's going to be the fun half. Kind of the idea is during the second half of the class, you guys can either watch me doing everything, or you can just sort of play along at home and do the worksheet at your own pace. The other idea is we might go, look, this is the first of our series. And so I'm kind of getting just adjusted to how to pace everything. And so if we don't like get every single thing, you'll still be able to do the worksheet on your own later at your own pace. Anyways, story time is first slide here. And this is me before learning Google Stadio, not actually me, but just kind of what I do now. I run a company called Click Targeter. And basically I help people that do Google ads and Facebook ads. That's not really what we're talking about today. Today it's just the Google Data Studio. And I'm kind of qualified to do that, talk on it just because I use it every single day in my own business, and kind of just my own backstory. Even before I was doing my own advertising company, when I started, I was just kind of a kid who wanted to learn how to do the internet and make money off of it somehow, which is not a great, like, super structured thing, but I just knew I wanted to do that. And so there wasn't really like a course or a certificate, anything at that time. Way I learned it was just by like working with whoever would like allow me to help them. And so anyways, I kind of had a lot of different jobs, like bouncing around, doing internships, like um, doing emails or doing social media, like website stuff. I was sort of a jack of all trades. And it was cool having all these different experiences, obviously, because you learn all these different skills. But the downside is of having all these different jobs is you get fired. And it's never a good thing when you get fired from a job. And there was like kind of one time specifically that stuck out for me, getting fired, and it kind of was a big point in my life. But anyways, I was doing emails at the time, and one of the other things I would do besides sending the emails is I would always have to create a report for my bosses. And a lot of times when I say report, what that really is just kind of me copying some numbers from a tool, put them in an Excel spreadsheet. And I didn't really know like why I was doing it. I didn't know how that was being used at the time, but it was still a good thing for me to learn how to do all this stuff. But anyways, what I really liked was the more creative side, but I would do the reporting just to help me like get my foot in the door, you know. And so anyways, I got fired. I was telling you guys, I was sending emails and I was doing my reports. I could see, hey, emails are getting a lot of clicks, a lot of traffic. And I was kind of surprised, obviously, when it all went down. And I was like, hey, you can't fire me because email, I can see the reports, you know, that brings traffic. And my boss was like, okay, Chris, that's true. But the thing was, the emails I was sending out didn't actually end up bringing any new paying customers to the company. Because I was actually sort of sending like email newsletters on behalf of the clients. It's not really important. The point was, my boss was totally right. And it was like, I was doing marketing, sending out all these emails. I was putting together these reports, but then I had this moment where it's like, I was just like completely blindsided. I didn't see it coming. I didn't realize that, I was just like, I didn't know, obviously know what I know now. And I just kind of remember like I was walking my dog right after that. And, a lot of things were coming clear to me. But one thing specifically was like, man, I got to prove to my bosses that whatever I'm doing, I got to prove to them that it actually impacts sales. Because obviously that's important. And obviously I hadn't been doing that. And so one thing that kind of clicked in my mind at that moment was like, okay, these reports, it's like the whole point of those is to prove it, prove how what I'm doing impacts the whole company's like vision. If I can't do that, like my job's probably not ever going to be safe, especially in these, online type businesses was what I wanted to be in. So anyways, I knew I wanted to prove that. My plan at the time, I didn't know how, but my plan was I'm just going to learn this program, Google Analytics. We'll get into that in a second, but that was one of the programs I had to go into each day. And um, anyways, one thing that's cool about Google Analytics is you can kind of see of all the people that like either bought stuff on your site or signed up for your service, where they came from. So I could have seen, oh, none of them came from the emails I was sending out. And anyways, my plan was get really good at Google Analytics, and then that'll be enough to help prove what I'm doing impacts sales. And so, kind of long story short, just learning Google Analytics is not enough to prove that, but it's definitely the best place to start. And kind of, I'm still been on this lifelong journey to help people like prove exactly what they do, how it impacts sales. And along the way, I've made a ton of mistakes. And that's kind of actually one of the purpose of today's class. I'm going to help you guys avoid all those stuff. And, something else that happened along this path is as soon as I got into Google Analytics, I could see, oh, hey, this Google ad thing, that seems to be pretty lucrative. That seems to work a lot better than email at the time. So kind of learning Google Analytics, that helped me to get to where I am today. And then the other thing that happened along that path is the program Google Data Studio came out, which is what we're going to get into here in a second. And that just helps people that do reports just like do it automatically. And obviously, the very first day I started doing these reports, I was thinking I need to figure out how to get this automated. But just back then, there wasn't that many great options. And so I kind of got in on the ground floor of Google Data Studio and have used it a lot for my own business. And then something else too, I created one of the templates in their Data Studio gallery, which we'll get to in a bit. And so I've actually like helped a lot of people set up these templates. I've seen a lot of different mistakes, a lot of different people will call things different words, and there's a lot of confusion. And so I've just got kind of like a good amount of practice explaining all this stuff to regular people. Anyways, let's get into it. That was me then. Woohoo! This is Chris after learning. This is going to be you guys after learning. You'll have hopefully a better suit than that guy though. Okay, anyways, Google Data Studio, the major benefits of how it's going to help everyone in this class is the number one is just saving time. And so hopefully you can go from copying and pasting things into Excel and then formatting those Excels. We're just going to get rid of all that. It's going to be great. We're going to save so much time. The other thing that's cool is once you get things automated, there's less room for mistakes. And, it's never fun when you make a report and you get called out for having a big mistake. So gonna make that happen less. Google Data Studio, it's based in the cloud. Basically, that just means your reports don't live on your one computer. It's in kind of the internet. And so that's really nice because It's not just in one machine, it's in every machine. You can see it from your phone, your computer, your customers' computers. And then the Google platform, it's free. If you know how to use other Google products, you'll already have a huge leg up when you start the worksheet. And the last thing is it's free, of course. Okay, Google Data Studio. I'm just going to do these next two slides, and then I'm going to stop for questions. So put your questions in during this next two slides. Anyways, Google Data Studio quick overview. Just it's a platform turns data into dashboards and reports. So down here we have a little GIF showing how it's used. We can see right here the mouse is going and changing these filters, and so they just changed it the date. They said, no, I only want to look at these 10 days. And right here, what he's doing, he's saying, oh, I don't want to see all the traffic from all the country. I just want to see this one traffic. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's probably some questions, but just this is what it looks like at the end of the course. This is actually going to be the template we're working on later. And so we'll get more time on it. But basically, Google Data Studio, it's just a program that makes reports, and it can do it automatically. And so there's a lot of other tools that do this. The most famous one is called Tableau. There's another one, Microsoft has it. It's called Microsoft BI or Business Intelligence. And so kind of how Google Data Studio is better than all these other ones and why I use it personally is mainly because it's free. And Tableau costs like 70 bucks a month for the cheapest option. Microsoft is like not that much less expensive. You know, so had I learned all this stuff on these other platforms, you know, would have been down a lot of money. Google Data Studio, it's like has Google security, which is really cool. It's pretty easy to use. In fact, it being easy to use is kind of a negative because a lot of the other platforms, Tableau, BI, they're way more powerful. And that's cool, obviously, because a lot more, hey, oftentimes more is better, but especially in the beginning, more can be more complicated. And so this final note here is the principles, things we're going to learn in this class about Data Studio, it's also going to apply to this stuff like Tableau or Microsoft BI. And so the reason I love Google Data Studio is because it's like definitely the best place to learn this stuff and to get started. And next page is, there we go. Next page, Google Analytics. Google Analytics, how I explain it, I kind of explain it differently than everybody else. But I would suggest you guys just think of Google Analytics as a set of sensors that you put on your web pages. And by having these sensors on your web pages, they can kind of talk to each other and give so much information, kind of like everything you ever wanted to know about what's going on your website. And so down in the bottom right, we got a little snapshot of what Google Analytics looks like. Pretty similar to the report right before, but just a lot more complicated right here. There's about 20 tabs, and this is only like one of 100. So anyways, Google Analytics, by putting these sensors on your web pages, you can get like so much information and more about what happens for your business or your company you work for. There's a lot of other competing analytics softwares, and most often what I see is kind of like every web provider has their own now. So my new site I'm working on right now is through a program called Shopify. If your website is on Shopify, like they'll give you their data if it's on Wix, Squarespace, those are kind of popular platforms. Each one of them has their own analytics tools. And a lot of times it's pretty much the exact same as Google Analytics. But I suggest everyone should start with Google Analytics if you want to kind of get an idea of how all this stuff actually works together. And the main reason is, well, first of all, it's free, which is good. But the main reason is like most all websites use Google Analytics. Now it's become like the standard. And one thing that's cool about Google Analytics is it's good at like talking with other programs, like specifically Google Data Studio. And another way to say that is if you use one of these competitors, Wix Analytics, whatever your website's basic analytics is, you're probably not going to be able to connect it to Data Studio. And so don't think of it as, hey, should I use Google Analytics or should I use Shopify Analytics? What you really want to do is do both. And it's pretty easy. It's a little bit tricky to set up, but it's totally worth it. And just the point is, it's not, hey, do I want to do this or that? It's you want to do both Google Analytics and your own, which is cool too, because then you can kind of compare them against each other. Anyways, just how this all works and kind of connects together, what we're going to be doing today is, see in this chart this represents your Google Analytics, all this data that we were talking about. It's kind of complicated. So what we want to do is connect it down here to our own Google Data Studio report, which is going to be very awesome, very simple to use. People are going to love it. And how I kind of illustrate this is the first thing we need to do is we need to connect these two programs. And the best way to do it is just the straight line, automatically get these things talking to each other. That's kind of a technical term, but we want to get Google Analytics talking with the Data Studio. However, there's a whole other way to do this, and it's kind of how I started, which is if for whatever reason we can't get the automatic connection, we can always kind of go into the Google Analytics program, copy, paste it into Google Sheets, kind of like I did earlier in my story. And then once we get into the Google Sheets, we can connect it to the Google Data Studio. And see this red line here, that represents manual work, having to copy paste something. That's what we're trying to avoid. And so whole point is we want to get everything connected to Google Data Studio, but if not, there's always kind of a workaround. And once we have it connected, part two, okay, we got our stuff talking to each other. Analytics is talking to Data Studio. This is what we're going to talk about a lot in the worksheet, so I'm going to go over this one pretty quick, but just the different tools we're going to be working with is in our reports, we can have tables, we can have different types of charts, and there's a lot of different kinds of tables and charts. But alongside of that, we can have cool images to drive home points. And then down here, just a shape. So if you just want to like make your report prettier, make it more colorful, a lot of tools. You can add shapes, scorecards. This is kind of just a simple table, but I love these. We're going to get into this more. And then the last thing, one of the most fun, is the data filters or data controls. And what this does is it makes your reports really interactive. And so more on that later. But anyways, we got analytics connected to Data Studio. We've now played around with the different reports. We've got our report created. And then this is where it starts paying off. Sharing reports in Data Studio. And so one of the best ways to share the reports is I just have it automatically send out. And so here's kind of what that looks like. This is one of the templates I created, but it's empty, but I still like to get it sent to myself once a week, just so I can kind of scan it, make sure nothing's broken in it. But also I do this with all my clients. I just have it send automatically out. That way they can kind of keep an eye on things. And it's good because you never really fall that far behind too. Just always kind of keep an eye on things. So we like to send them out automatically. The other way to share these reports is printing them. And so Google's made it really easy now to print the Data Studio reports. And so a lot of people, they like to have like a folder or something, no digital screens. And so actually the report we're going to make later, after we get it all created and get it connected to your guys' data, we can email it out. And then one of the things is going to be, you guys are going to have to download a printable copy. It's collaborative like Google Docs. So not only can you share the report when it's done, but you can also kind of share the report when it's still being made. And then you can embed it in websites. And so what that means, and just kind of to help you guys kind of like brainstorm this a little bit, but some marketing agencies they'll say, oh, they'll view your report. If you want to see what's going on with your account, you got to log into our website, put in your password, and then you can see your reports. But how that really works, it's just you have to have this secure page where you can see our Data Studio report. So they're using this like basic simple program, but you can kind of present it in a way where it's, oh, this is our own proprietary worksheets. And, so that's really cool. And then just before this is my last slide here, kind of just, this is almost my own opinion more than it is facts, but it's just kind of two principles to keep in mind as we go into this world of designing our actual reports. And again, this is kind of complicated what we're talking about. I'm sure a lot of people right now are not still fully like connected all the dots. But just the two things I've really learned along the line, I actually had 5 principles earlier, but these are the two you need to know. First one is each report needs to have a title, the data source, and the date range. And so the date is almost one of these like the most important. I've messed that up so many times. I'll be looking at a report. I think someone else is looking at the same report, and they are, but if it's a different time, it's going to be so confusing. They're not going to have any idea what you're talking about. And then the other thing with the title and the data source, that's just like, in case something's not right, or when you're in the actual like business meeting and presenting it to your boss, they'll say, hey, what's going on with like, this doesn't make sense. One thing that I kind of will fall back on in worst case scenario is, well, the report, it just reflects this original data source. So it might be something is wrong for example, we're going to be Google Analytics, Google Data Studio. I always say, hey, everything we're looking at is from your guys' Google Analytics account. And so if there's something that doesn't seem right, it probably is off, but it might not be the report designer's fault. It might just be that the way their analytics is set up isn't right. And so by just having the title, the data source, date range, this is going to avoid a lot of just headaches when you're talking to people in the real world, which kind of goes to the second point, is reports need to actually lead to have a purpose in the real world. And I like to ask myself the question, okay, knowing what we know now, after looking at this report, what are we going to actually do different moving forward? And so, for example, in my own work, I run the people's ads. And so kind of each month we'll have a meeting. We'll look at the report and be a lot of times, hey, of your 4 ads, like 3 of them were just not very good, but you had one that was actually like performed great. And so, hey, knowing that, moving forward, let's only run this one ad. Like, let's put all our money into that. And so, why that is so powerful is because, like, a lot of times I'll mess up or something, and I'll say, oh, we'll say, oh, why are these 3 ads bad? And it will kind of, take responsibility for it. But when you say, hey, that's not the point. The point is like we're trying to get a system here, just constant improvement. And so just ask yourself this question. Okay, knowing what I know now, like what do we do different moving forward? And if you have a hard time answering this question after looking at your report's never going to be like that impactful. And so I just want to kind of end on that. Hey, knowing what we know now, what do we do different moving forward? And because like earlier I was telling you my story, oh, I used to do these reports, but then when I got fired, it's like, man, I had almost no idea. And had I been asking myself this question more and more, like that kind of would have clicked in my mind earlier. And so that's the last slide. Do we have any questions? It looks like we got a lot of people from the Philippines today. Guys, thanks for visiting. It looks like it's early morning. Certificates. Oh, nice. Okay. Ali replied. Um, someone said how to learning some entry level stuff on visualization. Awesome. We're going to get into that in a second. How do you market CBD products? That you should come back next week, Jan. That's going to be a good way to do that would be like actual creating ads to do it. And so certificate. All right. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to close out the slides. Looks like we're on track about halfway through. Get out of here. There we go. And so one thing I want to just, even before I get into the Google Data Studio, one of my notes was one of the reasons Google Data Studio is cool is because it's very similar to other Google programs. And for example, that slideshow I just made was this program, Google Slides. And the way it works is it has like, you can insert images, insert shapes, insert lines, insert text. Once we get into this, the Google Data Studio, so take a little snapshot in your mind how this looks. The layout of Google Data Studio is basically like the exact same. So we had like add a box, add a line, add text, add image. Over here, look at this. Add a shape, add a line, add text, add image. And so I bet a lot of you guys are going to kind of know more about how this all works than you think. And so just one thing to keep in mind is it's very similar to all the other Google products. Another note I have is, maybe should have said this at the beginning, but in order to use Google Data Studio, you have to have a Google account, okay? And so I'm just gonna copy and paste this into our chat. Or I don't know how to do, one moment, you guys. Anyway, I'm not gonna, you have to have a Google account to use Google Data Studio. just another perk of these reports is on one of the slides I was talking about, you can kind of automatically connect data to Google Data Studio, which is what we want to do. And then you can manually do it. And I'm on the Google Data Studio website right now, and I just want to show you guys kind of the most common other programs that you can connect to Google Data Studio. And so this is cool because if you guys are using any of these other tools and doing reporting, don't want to do the reporting, want to automate it, this is a great way to go. So obviously we're doing Google Analytics today. Next time, Google Ads. Let's see, Google Sheets. This is really popular. Google Sheets is the same thing as Excel. And so that's a good one. YouTube Analytics. Anyone who's like a YouTube video maker out there, want to kind of see what's going on, get all your YouTube videos into Data Studio. And Google surveys, this is like pretty new from Google. So I know like DoSpace was sending out a survey. I filled it out the other day. And a lot of times after you do the survey, okay, knowing what we know now, what do we do different moving forward? It's nice sometimes if you can get all that data into a nice to use report so you can share it out with everyone on the team. But anyways, I just want to highlight, besides Google Analytics, these are some other tools really easy to connect. And then there's a lot of others that you can automatically connect, but you have to pay for. And so like Facebook ads is one of the really popular ones. That's going to be also on one of the courses. And well, let's just get into it. Well, one more thing, I guess I'm looking right now at a page. This is called the Data Studio Gallery. And what this is this is just a bunch of different reports that you guys can use. It's like, they're called report templates. And that means it's like, they're basically ready to go. They're just waiting for you to plug in your own data. And so that's actually kind of what we're going to be doing today. And opening this up. And so I'm going to kind of make this bigger. It's a little too big. There we go. All right, so this is our Google Data Studio dashboard. And something else I want to say is, you guys, in the chat, there's a link. The very first item in the chat is a link to this page, Data Studio. So what I want you guys to do right now is go into the chat and try to open this report on your guys' own screens. And so the idea is you're gonna be able to do all this stuff kind of at the same time as you're listening to me. But open this page using the link from the chat. Whoops, excuse me. One other important note, just kind of before we get started, this is where a lot of people get thrown off. But you'll notice on my screen, there's a picture right here in the top right corner of my face. And to me, that signifies that I'm logged in to my own Google account. Okay, and so just a few minutes ago, I said you're gonna have to create a Google account to use Google Data Studio. One of like the biggest obstacles people face is they're not signed into their Google account when they open up Google Data Studio. And so for some people, that'll be like very obvious. Of course, you have to have your account open. But basically, if you're looking at your own screen and you don't see your own face or whatever your own image is in the top right corner, you're going to need to sign in to your own Google account to actually kind of do the worksheet. And so just right now, make sure you're signed in to this page with your own Google account. And so I just want to do a kind of a little quick overview of what we're looking at right here. And so this says automated dashboard, Google Analytics, audience overview. And so this is the title of our report. That's good. It has a title. It has Google Analytics. It tells us where the data is coming from. Those kind of our two things we talked about. And then it also has a date. So we're looking now at everything on this page represents what was going on this particular website last January. And by the way, this is a real website we're looking at today. I'll bring it up right here. It's called Google Merchandise Store. And so everything we're going to be looking at is very real data. This is the specific website. It's a store that kind of just sells different kind of Google stuff. Like a lot of t-shirts or cups or stuff like that. I'm not going to look at it too much. I just want you guys to know this is real data. And so we could add, hey, to this specific site. That'd be kind of a good thing to put on this report. But anyways, this is just, okay, it says Google Data Studio, automated dashboard. Right here, we have these kind of filters. And so these are things we can go and kind of interact with. And so right now it starts by showing all the traffic to this particular site from desktops and from phones and from tablets. But like sometimes, hey, I just want to see what's going on with the phones, or I just want to go and see new users or returning users. Something else that's kind of obvious about this dashboard too, I didn't say it off the bat, but it's just like completely ugly looking. And that's actually on purpose. So what I've done is I've took a completely fine template from the gallery and just kind of messed it up. And on this next page, the worksheet, it's going to be instructions on how to get it back to its original format. And then once we do that, it's really easy to connect it to your guys' data. But just anyways, I just want to kind of overview before we get into the details. So this is a dashboard to help people see what's going on this Google site. We can break it down by new users, old users, phones versus computers. Gives us a basic overview of traffic. Users, that means just like how many people went to the site. So we can see it's kind of up and down here. Like more new. Most of the people that go to that site are new, and not a lot of people return to the Google merchandise store. Down here we got these are called scorecards, and it's kind of, I don't really love how it's overflowing on these boxes, so we're gonna have to fix that. And then down here we got 3 sections. Let's learn more about our users, what language they speak. So this site, most of the people are English. Kind of makes sense. This middle block, it seems to have completely disappeared. That's not good. And then this final box, what device are people using? But it's actually not showing device. For some reason, it's showing days of the week. And anyways, this is the report we're going to be fixing. It's scrambled on purpose. Again, before we really get into this, make sure you're logged in with your own Google account. And okay, right now I'm on the page, the report. I'm going to go to the worksheet page. And do space course. Okay, so right here, this just looks not like a report at all. It's just a regular kind of worksheet, which by the way is also something you can do in Data Studio. So it's nice because you can make these like complicated reports, but then it's also nice because you can just have super simple pages. with instructions. And so basically we got about 20 things here. We're not going to be able to get through these. I'm just been talking a little too much. But the most important one is number one, make a copy of Data Studio report. And so what we do and what you guys need to do here is, in order to actually fix this report, you're gonna have to make a copy. And what I want everyone to do is, the option is gonna be, okay, the original, it's using this sample analytics data, and then we gotta tell it for our new report what we want. So this is where you could just replace it with your own, like, Google Analytics account. But what we're gonna do is gonna keep this exact same data set. And so now it's kind of making me a whole new report, but it's going to be the exact same thing as what we were just looking at. But the only difference is I'm going to be able to edit it. And more importantly, you guys are going to be able to edit it at home. And so here it's just taking a second to load up. And while it's doing that, let's just go ahead and look at our worksheet. And one other thing I like to do is I actually have the same report opened up twice. I have one tab looking at my worksheet, and I have another tab to actually go to the report. This is really nice because a lot of times on Zoom calls it can go kind of slow, and if you guys probably just saw while I was switching through those, it kind of is a little bit slow. But if you can have all the different pages of your report open kind of when you're doing these Zooms, I found it goes a lot faster. And so, okay, we just made that copy. The first thing we're going to do is change the title of the new report and replace copy of with our name. So I'm right here. First thing we want to do, okay, remove that. Chris B. Boom. All right, I got my own name on here. And this is obviously just the title of the report. We want to have this good. Okay. Number 3, delete a page in the report titled delete this page right here. And so how we do this is, my whole screen looks a little bit different now that I have the copy. And I'm specifically just giving me a lot more options. Go over to here, this page, selector mode, delete this page. Gonna go down there, remove. So boom, I just deleted the page. And one thing I want to do now is show you guys this button. It's called the view button. And I'm going to switch, right now I'm in edit mode, whereas I can make changes, but now I'm in view mode. And view mode is where you cannot make changes. And it's important to know this difference because a lot of times when you share these, like when I shared my original file with everyone here, I only gave you guys access to view and not edit. And so anyways, now we have this new dynamic of editing the report. And so, whoops, I'm kind of, here, sorry, I'm clicking around too much. Okay, then we deleted the page. Now we want to change the report theme. And we're going to switch it to default. The report theme it impacts all the colors and it has a lot of different shapes you guys are about to see. But just basically, this report is really ugly looking right now, in my own opinion. And once we change it, it's going to look so much better just right off the bat. And so the theme is one of like the huge areas that's like a little change, just makes everything look better. But I'm looking through all of the things, and we want to go up to the top and change it to the default theme. And keep an eye on my report, like already, boom, the background just changed from gray to white. This right here, it actually was kind of overflowing before. But anyways, the whole background changed and a lot of our fonts changed. So already looking a little bit better. So, okay, we got our theme. One thing I want to do, add a little border. I don't like how it all looks like one big piece of paper. And so I'm selecting this option of the report has a margin. And what that did is just put this little background in. And okay, we got the report margin. One thing it wants us to do is the report's too long, so we want to shorten it up. And let's take a look to see if it really is too long. Oh, yeah, it makes sense. There's a lot of kind of empty space down here we're not using. And so right now I'm on the main kind of prompt for the theme and the layout. So we just did our theme. Now we're going to go to layout. We're trying to change the height here. So I'm going to go change that from 1800 to 1400. And point here is you guys can make your report whatever shape size you want. And so I'm going to kind of have to speed through this next part, but I'm just going to be hitting on all the principles. And so like basically when you learn how to change one background to one component, it's going to be the same as all the components. And so, okay, let's change the date range. I'm going to do two at a time here. We want to change the date range. And then we also want to fix these filters. And so I'm going to scroll up. First thing we're doing, changing the date. So we don't want to look at last year. I mean, it's good to know what happened last year, but I'm more interested in what's been going on this year. We're done with 2020. Not looking back. So last 30 days, I'm going to change the date range. And so one of the takeaways here is when we started, this report was set only show this fixed date range, but we just switched it to now it's set to show the last 30 days. And so that's cool because every single day when you open it, it's going to be like current and it's going to be, hey, what's happening right now? The other thing we wanted to change was basically we just want all these boxes up here to look the same. And we can see everything else has a kind of a little border, except for this box right here, the channel. And so anyways, what I did, I just clicked on this one box and right here on the right-hand side, this is kind of my control panel. And there are two options here. We have data or style. So with this one, we're not really trying to change the data or like, we could change it from, oh, we don't want to look at channel, we want to look at something else. We want to change the style here. And so each component, like every single chart, every graph has a data and a style. And just keep in mind, okay, we're trying to change the color something, that's style. If we're trying to change the numbers, that's data. And so we're adding a drop box, or excuse me, we're adding a shadow to this little box. So I clicked add border shadow. Took a second, but voila, we got it going. And oh, just one other thing. I didn't even have this in my notes, but one thing that's cool about Data Studio, you can see everyone else who is looking at the report at the same time. And so right now it looks like we got 7 around people or so. So not all of you are active, but that's fine too. And I'm going to kind of condense this a little bit because I want to just be sure to hit these most important parts. But the whole goal is basically once we guys go through this whole thing, it's about 20. We'll have completely fixed it. Actually, I might go like 10 minutes later. So I don't know if Allie will be too angry at me, but I'll be fast. So we just we added a little shadow to that filter. That's cool. And now it also wants us to change one of the filters from user type to region. And so just kind of in our previous box, we changed the style, but now we got to change the data. And sort of in websites, user type is it new or returning? And then we want to change it to region. Region is just kind of like basically what state the people are in, or what, if you're in the Philippines, probably like which specific part of the Philippines. And so we say we don't want to look at users, we want to look at regions. It's saying, okay, I'm going to have to like think about that for a second. Anyways, while that's changing, let's look over here. All right, remove the background color and then remove unnecessary words. So we're going to start by removing these words. This is just a text box. See, I clicked on it. Kind of works just like a regular Microsoft Word programmer. Highlight the part I don't like. Boom, done. Okay, this image up here, yeah, I don't like how that's blue. That's not right. So it already just sent me right to the style part, kind of knew what I wanted to do. Background, we don't like blue. Let's go transparent, boom. Takes a second. All right. Okay, next one, change the chart type. And then change the direction of the line graph. So this is the chart type. And anyways, this is called the tree map chart. And it's cool, but that's not really the best for what we want right now. And so what I'm doing right now, we're not changing the data style, we're changing the whole chart type, going from tree map to pie chart. And then it's gonna have all the same information, a lot of the same kind of style components too, but it's just not a tree map, it is the pie chart now. Okay, so while that's thinking, I'm just gonna go on right to this next one. And something you'll notice about this graph is it's actually kind of backwards. It's starting at January 17th, and then it's ending at December 21st of last year. So somehow this got mixed around and kind of going backwards. And obviously I did that on purpose. I'm kind of buying time here while it loads. But the point is, I just wanted to see you guys that once we have the chart, there's a lot of different ways we can go in and actually edit these things. So we can change the colors of the lines. We can make the line bigger. But what we really want to do is uncheck this box. The x-axis, that just kind of means the bottom of the chart. So now, okay, now it's starting in 2020 and ending in 2021. That's good. Okay, this whole empty section down here, like what in the world is going on with that? This is a concept called layering. And so what we need to do with this one is select this box and go to the arrange function, then go arrange, send to back. And boom, whoa, where did that come from? We got a whole new section on what country people come from. And so the point here, what I'm trying to communicate is this box is actually like 3 different sections. We got the text, we got a little map, we got a little table. And then on top of all that, or behind all that, is this box. And so these 3 charts are actually, think of it as they're laying on top of that other box. And so that's an important kind of design thing to just keep in mind. Okay, I'm going to skip these next 2 because I know we're running late. I don't want to go too much over. But the last things, this is kind of the most important part. This is where it gets fun, is like setting these up to automatically email and or to download. And so I'm going to do 17 and 18 here. I'm going to download my report and then I'm going to email it to myself. And so how you do this is this share button up here. And this is an important thing to know. So, actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on this little drop down arrow. Okay, download report. I'm going to, how to do this. Then it's asking me, okay, do I want to download every single page or do I want to do just select pages? And I don't really want to download this worksheet. I just want it to be the report. And so that's how you would do that. The other option is, well, let's get this thing emailed out. So this is where it's fun. It's like, we're not going to keep going into Google Sheets and copy and pasting everything. We're just going to set this up. So once it's good, and our report is not that far away, but you can go and say, okay, I want to send this from me to me. And then I don't need to send myself the worksheet. I just want to send myself the report. And I don't want to see it every day. I just want to see it every once a month on the 3rd. That's kind of random, but okay, schedule that. And so I know this is someplace you don't want to mess up, because this is like where your clients will actually interface. And so one thing is, don't send the reports out too often, because if you get an email every single day, what I end up doing personally is just kind of taking them for granted. And so I would say, like, at the minimum, have it be each week for when you're emailing these things out, because it might sound kind of counterproductive. Oh, every day I should look at it, but it's just, if you do it every day, it almost becomes like you can't see the forest for the trees. And then I can change this to only show it to specific people. And then, so how I would do that is share. And this is important too, the share function. And just kind of how I had this set up right now is I chose the option anyone on the internet can find and view. That's why everyone today was able to just click in and get it going. But a lot of times it's like, this information, we don't want everyone on the web being able to see it. We will only want like specific people. And so I'm going to change this to only people with a clicktargeter.com email address can view this one. Because this is my own, or wait, sorry, I don't want to do. Oh no, I hope I didn't change. I want to go over here. And this is where you would change And so I want to be sure to not change this original report because that kind of impacts everything else. I want to do my own report. And okay, this 21 is after you guys kind of have figured this out. There's only about 3 or 4 in here we didn't go over. But after you guys kind of know how this works and all the tools, visit this place, the Data Studio Gallery, which we went over earlier. So basically when you do a new report, one option is start from scratch. That's cool. But how you can become super fast is finding a template you like and then saying, hey, I just need to make a few little changes on that. And that's kind of one of the fastest ways to get up and running. And so that's, I'm a little bit over on time. I'm going to open up my chat screen to see if we have any questions. Yeah, so if you have any questions, type them in right now. Or Ali, let me know if you have anything. I'm not quite sure how to.
I don't see anything new over here.
Cool. You know, if you guys have any questions, a good way to contact me is just through my email. My email is chrisb@clicktargeter.com, or add that into report. But another way, if you have any questions, is just come back next week because we're going to be doing the same thing. But instead of Google Analytics, we're going to be doing Google Ads. And so you can kind of get a little idea, but also kind of get your own worksheet. And so learn at your own pace. And then, yeah, that's sort of it for me today. Ali, do we have anything else we're forgetting?
Nope, I don't think so. I think we're all good.
Word. So I'm going to sign off for today. Just thanks again to DoSpace. Email me if you have any questions, or just show up next week. And I'm going to log off, Ali. I'll just kind of let you end it. And thanks, everyone. And
all right. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. And we will hopefully see you guys next week. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.